Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, Senators slam a House lawmakers claim that there is no need for both chambers of Congress to jointly convene in amending the Constitution. Concerns are growing over the efficacy of China-made Sinovac vaccine. At least one senator wants the health department to cancel the purchase of this vaccine. And authorities are appealing for the public to the public to keep calm after the detection of the new COVID-19 variant in the Philippines. Senate President Tito Sotto joins us live. The chairman of the House Committee on Constitutional Amendments says there's no need for the Senate and the House of Representatives to jointly convene to amend economic provisions in the Constitution. Ako Bicol Party List Representative Alfredo Garbin tells CNN Philippines the Senate can hold deliberations the same way as ordinary legislation. Senators have said Garbin's panel cannot assume the functions of a constituent assembly while Congress is still on break until January 17th. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Senate President Tito Sotto. SP, thank you so much for your time. And I know meron na ho kayong dalawa o tatlong tweeting tungkol dito sa Chacha, yung ginawa ng House.
Hi. Good morning, Pinky, and good morning to everyone. Yes, I was informed that a House official or their chairman of the Constitutional Amendments Committee declared themselves as already a constituent assembly, and of course, we in the Senate cannot say will definitely say that's not possible. For you to be able to conduct yourself or declare yourself as a constituent assembly, it's the Congress that has to do that. And we are not in session. We're on recess. And they will resume today. Perhaps they can do that today, but not definitely not in a committee and not during a recess. So that's the point.
Yeah, I understand. Sabi nyo nga kailangan tama muna ang rules. Kung hindi, parang tabingi. Yun ata yung inyong tinweet. And of course, that particular statement of yours that you're on recess, kung meron mang, even Senator Majority Leader Mig Zubiri was saying, if there's anything that can happen during recess, it's only a committee hearing.
Correct. It's a committee hearing. And perhaps that is the recommendation of their committee. A declaration to that effect definitely is not official.
Okay. I spoke to Congressman Garbin yesterday, SP, I wanted you sana to listen to what he said. Kaya lang, we have a little bit of problem playing that statement he said. But let me read a portion of that. Kasi tinanong ko siya, how is this a con-us, yung nangyari sa House Committee on Constitutional Amendments hearing nung Wednesday. Ang sagot po niya ganito, I hope you can hear me well, no? Well, when we speak of Constituent Assembly, Pinky, we really need to understand the definition of a Constituent Assembly. It is a body authorized by the Constitution to propose amendments or revision, and the body that is authorized by the Constitution in Congress. Next, he said, SP, the last time I know na ang aking committee ba na kung saan ako chairman, part ng Kongreso. Kaya nga meron kaming delegated power from the plenary, the authority to, exercise and exhaust all means that a constitutional reform shall be advanced as necessary. Is that clear to you, SP?
Yes, it's clear to me. It's clear that he's overstepping his power. That's not possible. His exact words that they're part of Congress. Correct. When you say Congress, it's the entire both houses of Congress. And the work of a committee, whatever it is, whatever you approve, must be approved by the entire Congress. I mean, the House of Representatives itself or the House of the Senate. then it becomes a committee report or a committee or a Congress approval. Therefore, a committee cannot declare itself as a constituent assembly. That's not possible.
Idagdag ko lang, SP, because hinanap ko din po yung sinabi ni Congressman Garbin. He said, siguro, kailangan lang aralin yung Section 17 of the 1987 Constitution. I think he's referring to Article 17 of the Constitution. If you have a copy of the Constitution, pustahan tayo, wala dyang nagsasabing mag-convene muna as Constituent Assembly. And I did read Article 17 of the Constitution. It is true, though, that wala ho talagang nahahanap doon na Constituent Assembly. Ang nakasulat lang talaga, it's very simple. It says, Article 17, any amendment to or revision of this Constitution may be proposed by, 1, the Congress upon a vote of 3/4 of all its members, or 2, a constitutional convention. Do you submit, sir, na wala ho talagang nakasulat na doon sa Article 17 na Constituent Assembly?
Of course, it's not written because it's implied. Common sense. It's implied. You cannot be a Constituent Assembly when you're a committee. Common sense. Take it up to your committee must take it up in plenary. And the Congress, the House of Representatives, will declare them itself as a part of a Constituent Assembly.
Okay.
Again, part. Because the other half is the House of the Senate.
Yeah. So, ganito po. If ang pinagbasehan ho kasi nitong chat sa House was House Resolution of both Houses number 2 by then Congressman Lord Alan Velasco kasi 2019 po niya ito ipinasa. And then, of course, ngayon speaker na siya. And in that resolution of both houses number 2, nakasulat nga po doon na the two chambers voting separately, So that alone speaks of a con-as, hindi ho ba? And if that is the basis of the House hearing on Chacha, then it becomes quite clear that it is implied that it's a Constituent Assembly.
Yes, but parliamentary procedures dictate that they take it up in plenary, that it is the House of the Representatives who will say that they have approved the resolution. They're talking of a resolution that they did not even approve on the floor.
Apo.
They are talking of a resolution that was filed. It is a simple resolution filed. Therefore, it is the committee only that is approving the resolution. We're on recess. How can the House of Representatives approve that resolution? They are on recess. Parliamentary procedures and rules dictate that a resolution is not approved until it is approved on the floor in plenary.
Yes. SP, what happens if the House Committee on Constitutional Amendments, what if they insist that what they're doing or they are already being part of a Constituent Assembly? What can the Senate do about that? What if they insist?
Well, we won't do anything about it. It's up to them. If they want to insist that their committee has declared itself as a Constituent Assembly already, if somebody takes it up to the Supreme Court, I am very confident that the Supreme Court will throw it into the history, the history of the trash can of history.
Sabi niyo po ata, kayo ba nagsabi na, bakit parang nagmamadali?
Correct. Why not wait today? Bakit hindi nyo gawin today? Hindi ba? Bring it to the floor today and then approve it on the floor today. Then you have declared yourself as a Constituent Assembly, not in a committee.
Opo. And just to understand the process again, if they take it up on the floor and they are able to pass this on plenary, the second hurdle will have to be still the Senate. There's already a resolution also in the Senate passed by Senators Tolentino and Senator Bato de la Rosa. And there, it's also asking the House to convene as a Constituent Assembly to propose amendments or revisions to the Constitution, di ho ba?
Yes, I referred it to the Committee on Constitutional Amendments.
Okay. So,
it's there in the committee right now.
I also interviewed Senator Kiko Pangilinan and sabi po niya, ang kanyang suggestion is magkaroon ng Senate caucus on this. Is this something you agree with? Mag-usap-usap po muna kayo on charter change and everything that covers charter change, o palagay niyo ho ay pwede nang diretso na sa constitutional amendments pag-usapan po ito?
Before I do that, I would want to correct myself. I said wait today. I had
Monday.
at the back of my mind that because we are having a hearing at 10 o'clock that we're starting sessions today. No, why don't they wait on Monday?
Yes, sir.
I should say. Monday, January 18, when we resume, then they could declare themselves into a Constituent Assembly in plenary,
Yeah.
not in a committee. So I stand corrected. At the back of my mind, I thought we were convening today because of or resuming today. I thought it was Monday. The 18th. It's the hearing lang muna of the Committee of the Whole and Senate. All right. Going to your question.
Kay Senator Kiko.
Yes, there was a suggestion of Senator Pangilinan that I call a caucus of an all senators caucus. I made some calls even about 2 weeks ago when the resolution was brought up, and when I had more than 2 weeks ago, it was late last year when the president gave us the idea or suggested the idea of calling for a Constituent Assembly in order to address the concerns that you mentioned. I took it upon myself to talk to the other members of the majority. I did not discuss it with the minority itself, but I did discuss it with Senator Drilon. As a matter of fact, Senator Drilon knew, or who is the minority leader, knew that I was talking to my colleagues and we were discussing it. And we talked about the procedures, we talked about the possibilities of if ever we do so, we need three-fourths vote to approve any amendment to that effect. We will, of course, definitely insist on voting separately. We will insist that nothing is taken up outside of the economic provisions. But that was it. It was just plain talk. We did not arrive on anything concrete. And so if there is a call for or request for me to call for a all senators caucus on the matter, we will.
Okay.
Perhaps I will after the House acts on it. If
see.
they do approve it in plenary and they declare themselves into a Constituent Assembly properly, then we will discuss the matter as a whole, as a Senate.
I think the operative word there, SP, was when you said properly. Yung po bang chacha, because dalawa po nakikita natin so far, economic provisions and improving or strengthening the party list law. And I know you're filing or have filed or planning to file a resolution on this. Just quickly on economic provisions, personally, are you in favor of easing economic restrictions?
Marami yun eh. Marami yung economic provisions and restrictions na dapat itackle. And right now, there is a bill pending in the Senate which is called the Trade Liberalization Law or Trade Liberalization Bill. Kung ganon, medyo magiging mabusisi pa rin. Ano? And so I agree with the former suggestion of former Speaker Sonny Belmonte that a simple line being added into the Constitution on specifically the economic provisions would do it in.
Would suffice.
Like as may be provided by law.
Yeah.
Look, let's go back. The party list system was only enabled by an enabling law. In the Constitution, it is merely mentioned and says that there must be an enabling law. There are about, if I'm not mistaken, more than 4 or 5 points in the Constitution, that are mentioned as depending on an enabling law, or it should be enacted through an enabling law. May mga ganun eh.
Opo.
And forgive me if I think that nung araw kasi, nung when they're doing the Constitution, they were quite in a hurry. And so instead of debating on all those points, they just placed it there. Therefore, yung sa party list system needed an enabling law. It was the Committee on Electoral Reforms during our time in the 10th or 11th Congress. Cannot recall right now the exact Congress, but it was Senator Raul Rojo who sponsored it, and I was his vice chairman. And we were confining it to the marginalized sector, RA 7941, Republic Act 7941. We enabled it. Therefore, if we tinker with it in the Constitution, it's what do? We will remove that. When what we can do right now is to amend the enabling law. I told that to the president. I immediately answered him with that when he was mentioning the issue of the party list system, that we take it up also in the Constituent Assembly. I suggested that, I said, Mayor, why don't we just look into the enabling law and amend the enabling law? And he said that he's worried that baka dalhin lang sa Supreme Court yan, madidelay, tatagalan, something to that effect. We did not finish the issue. Hindi kami, kumbaga sa salita sa Tagalog, hindi kami nagtapos sa usapin na yun. But anyway, going to the economic provisions, as you are asking, as may be provided by law, Congress may be able to tackle one by one the different issues, and not just a general opening of the economic provisions. So that is, right now, that is my suggestion. I leave it to the other members of Congress, both houses, to accept it or not. Let's see.
So,
it's up for debate right now.
okay, SB, I have a follow-up question on that, but I need to go on a very short break. We will be right back. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Senate President Tito Sotto. SB, my follow-up is I was a little confused. Are you saying that we need charter change to be able to fix or ease the economic restrictions and fix the party list system? O sinasabi nyo, hindi na kailangan yan. Kailangan lang natin gumawa ng legislation para ilagay yung unless otherwise provided by law dun sa economic provisions, and then again, an ordinary legislation to strengthen the party list system?
Offhand, I have yet to be convinced that we need a charter change. When you say kasi charter change, you have to change the Constitution. You're changing the Constitution, not just charter amendments. So right now I am not convinced that we need a charter change or cha-cha. Perhaps we need kacha, character change. That's what the country needs. So CHA din yun, but different pronunciation.
Sino kailangan mag-character change?
Charter amendments would probably be acceptable, particularly on economic provisions. But then again, as I said, pag lumawak masyado, ibang usapan eh. But yung sinasabi ko na as may be provided by law, when we take it up like a regular law, a regular bill, mas madaling pag-usapan. There is no room for apprehensions on term limits or extension of terms or other issues that might not be acceptable to the people. Limitado lang talaga. At saka maliwanag yun. Definitely we vote separately because they passed the bill on their side. We pass it on our side.
Right.
Then we ask the president to approve it. And then it turns into a plebiscite. Because any change to the Constitution or any amendment to the Constitution must undergo a plebiscite. And therefore, if we want to do this, and simple one-liner amendment, we can include it in the 2022 elections without extra cost to the people or to the government.
Yeah. But I'm still a little confused about that. So if you add that one line, unless otherwise provided by law, ano ho ba yun still, SP? Is that ordinary legislation, or do you have to convene as a constituent assembly to add that line?
It takes the form of an ordinary legislation, but it could be amending the Constitution itself. The United States has done that so many times. They have never changed the Constitution, but they have amended their what do they call that?
Okay.
Anyway.
So, yeah. So, just also very quickly on this, SP, kasi nga I know that you're supposed to file legislation also to strengthen the party list groups. When is this going to be filed, or has this been filed, sir?
No, I'm on the verge of finishing the draft. No? We're soon filing it. By next week, I'll be filing it. I will try my best to go back to the original intention when Senator Roco sponsored the bill enabling the party list system. We will go back there. Marginalized. Sino ba marginalized? Di ba? Yung talagang tunay na marginalized. At hindi na sumobra lawak, which is ang original intention nun was the urban poor, the farmers, labor, women, youth, and indigenous people. Yun yung original eh. Unless otherwise gusto nilang magdagdag, pero that is the real marginalized sector of our society that the original intention of the Constitution was for.
And would you say it's been abused? Would you say it's been abused, the party list system?
Oh, yes. Definitely. It was misinterpreted by both COMELEC and an interpretation decision by the Supreme Court.
All right. The Senate Committee of the Whole will be meeting in about 30 minutes. So we're going to talk about that very briefly, but we need to take a very short break. We'll be right back. Let's go back to Senate President Tito Sotto, Senate Committee of the Whole. Puntahan ko na po to, SP, kasi itong Sinovac, of course, has been talked about the past couple of days. Ano po? And there's really a question on how much Sinovac is. Are you going to press officials today to disclose how much this is? Because in the beginning, it was saying it was one of the most expensive, and then Secretary Roque was saying it's not the most expensive. It's actually on the middle, siguro among the 6 vaccines that could be made available here in the country.
Kaya nga, if it's not the most expensive, how much is it? Why don't you tell us? Hindi ba? Because it's the people. Let me be very blunt about this. It's the people who are worried. It's not us. It's not the Senate. So yung mga namimintas na bakit daw kami naghihiring, ang publiko humihingi nito eh. They want to be clarified. They want to know more. Some are afraid. Di ba? So, the lingering questions that will be taken up in a few minutes would center on the issue of is this really cheaper? The first vaccines that we're going to receive is really cheaper. We want to hear from this time we're not hearing from government lang. We're hearing from the private sector. We're hearing from Zuilig. We're hearing from, sino ba yung invited natin? Pfizer.
Pfizer,
We're
sir.
hearing from Unilab, and then the Philippine Medical Association, and then the LGUs.
Yeah.
We will be centering on them today. We want to hear more from them. And then we let Secretary Galvez and Secretary Duque react to what they will hear from these resource persons, so we can finalize more or less and give the assurance to the people that what government is going to do is safe, secure. Di ba? So yun ang
But
halaga.
will you compel them to disclose the amount of Sinovac, and will you tell the public the cost of this?
Yes, it's found in the internet. I don't know why they cannot tell us publicly. But if they refuse and they say it's confidential, then we can go into a executive session as suggested by the majority leader, Senator Zubiri.
And then
We go
Okay.
into a executive session and ask them and tell us what these confidential matters are.
do you think a price would be confidential in nature? Should it be confidential in nature? And I remember Senator Mig Zubiri saying this is public funds.
Yeah, I don't think so. It should not be confidential. Oh, bakit confidential? And now that there are other vaccines that are available, let's make it all available. Let's make them all available.
Okay.
Also, by the way, if I may take this opportunity, later on, I'll be asking the Philippine Medical Association, bakit talagang masyado ba talaga yung umaasa na lang sa vaccine? Bakit hindi medication? There are 2 or 3 countries that I've heard na niya sila takot sa kahit kami vaccine o wala kasi they found the medicine to cure.
Really?
Para kung may sipon, may ubo, may lagnat, di ba? Pero may gamot para doon. O hindi ka natatakot magkaroon ng sipon.
Yeah.
O ng ubo, may gamot eh. Baka naman pwede tanungin natin ang PMA tungkol dyan. How are we into the also finding a medicine, a medical cure, not just a vaccine? Because the vaccine will last how long? Sabi nila, what, 6 months? 1 year? Thereafter, ano?
Yeah.
Papa-inoculate tayo ulit.
Baka
Diba?
mag-mutate
So
ulit.
perhaps we can dwell into these matters
Okay.
also during the hearing later.
All right, we'll be monitoring what will happen later. Senate President Tito Sotto, sir, as usual, maraming salamat po sa inyo.
Thank you, Pinky. It's my pleasure, my honor and pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.